enjoy. I just want to give a quick thanks to the Tier 5 channel members and patrons. Bob the Dragon, Datamagnet, Sergeant Puma, Cat Crab Lobster, and Duck Machine. Thank you very much for the support. It is much appreciated. Story number 1. Outpost 2246, written by EchoingCascade. Day 3. Ramirez was checking the ammo racks on the auto turrets that defended the outpost. The screens read 70%. Their attacks consume 30% of the ammo currently fed to the turrets. I better double the amount just to be on the safe side. He had crash-landed after being shot out of the sky by enemy forces. He, Carl, Norman, and Sarge were on the routine rearming run for an automated defense on an isolated outpost, and that was supposed to be a peaceful planet. I remember the fire. I had to carry 3 ammo boxes. They were some of the heaviest things I ever had to pull. Turns out that Strady had other ideas, and now his 4-man team was going to have to survive long enough for reinforcements to check upon them. The communication array on the side was fried, and since this was one of 5 outposts, they weren't due to return to base for 2 more weeks. Sarge assured them that they wouldn't be checked on for another 18 days. On the other hand, they had enough ammo for 5 outposts. I should check on Carla. She should be in her sniping nest, taking out any Strady, trying to damage the turrets from the outside their range. Sure enough, the sound of gunfire could be heard. Aim, fire, reload. Aim, fire, reload. Ramirez couldn't help but smile. She was the only sniper in the graduating class to use an old-school bolt-action rifle. She gave him a quick wave without bothering to turn to look at him. He decided to go check in the kitchen. Norman was cooking his famous huevos and rancheros. Ramirez tried to take some and got a spatula to the hand for his troubles. Finally, he reported to Sarge, who was tending the garden. He never liked the garden. Too many bugs. Ramirez. Ammo was refilled on the turrets. Carla is sniping fools, and Norman is making sure we regret the lack of standard rations on 3rd day in a row. Sarge. Ha! You want to talk? You could live on that stuff. Very well, go get some rest. We're gonna have to do this whole crap again tomorrow. Day 8. Ramirez was checking on the ammo racks and the auto turrets that defended the outpost. The screens read 92%. Their attack consumed 8% of the ammo currently fed to the turrets. This amount should be good enough for now. I should check on Sarge. He should be in his sniping nest, taking out any Strady trying to damage the turrets from the outside their range. Sure enough, the sound of gunfire could be heard. Aim, fire, reload. Aim, fire, reload. Ramirez couldn't help but smile. Sarge was the only sniper in the graduating class to use an old-school bolt-action rifle. He gave him a quick wave without bothering to turn to look at him. He decided to go check on the kitchen. Norman was cooking his famous huevos and rancheros. Ramirez tried to take some and got a spatula to the hand for his trouble. Finally, he checked on Carla, who was tending the garden. He never liked the garden. Too many bugs. Ramirez. Come on, Carla. Dinner is almost up. Though, the huevos rancheros again. Carla. Oh, please. Everyone knows that you could live off that stuff. All right, let's go. Day 15. Ramirez was in his sniping nest, taking out any Strady trying to damage the turrets from outside their range. Aim, fire, reload. Aim, fire, reload. Ramirez couldn't help but smile. He was the only sniper of the graduating class to use an old-school bolt-action rifle, a souvenir from his great-great-grandpa. I hope Sarge is making his famous huevos rancheros. I could live on that stuff. Day 19. Ramirez was cooking like usual when he heard the sound of heavy artillery. Feck! Did the Strady really get reinforcements? He ran to mission briefing room. It gave access to all surveillance equipment and doubled as a panic room for a final last stand. When he got there, Carla was hugging Norman while Sarge was pointing at the mission screen. Reinforcements had indeed arrived, but it was theirs. Before he could say anything or move, he heard the sound of boots in the corridor. A major and his escort were making their way to the room. Ramirez snapped a crisp salute, and he assumed. So did the others, and he turned his back to them to face the officer. Major. At ease, soldier. You lot did a fine job holding the line for so long. The Major looked around for a moment. Major, where are the others? At this, Ramirez's blood ran cold, and he tried to forget. He had tried to move on, but he knew what had happened. He took a deep breath, and he began to talk. Ramirez, we were shot down almost 3 weeks ago. Carla, Sergeant Norman, didn't make it. I pulled their bodies from the fire, but it was too late. They are buried in the garden. The Major looked at the soldier, still saluting, barely holding back tears. Major, son, are you saying you held the outpost alone for 19 days? Ramirez looked behind him at the conference table and saw no one. He then recalled all he had done the last 19 days, how his friends' memories and everything they had taught him kept him going. He then turned to face the Major. Ramirez, not alone, sir. I was never alone. End of story. Story number 2. Matador, written by Harfus. Enrico Knowles stepped into the ring. The crowd was smaller every time. Barely a quarter of the arena is seated. Aliens of all kinds, either old fans or a sparse few who wanted to see a real Matador, and possibly their last chance to do so. Sure, the crowd was small, but it roared with a strength that filled the arena. Enrico pulled out a cape, a thick shade of pink that shares the color of his home, a rose colony. With a flourish, he bows and whipped the cape up so that it became his billowing mane for a sparse few moments. He walked slowly to the center of the arena. He puffed his chest out and held himself tall. We all love to gawk. That's what the crowd is here. Half of them wonder if this will be Enrico's unexpected last show. He's getting older, turning 40 in a few months. Surely, he can't go on much longer. 4 months ago, Al Maquino died, and it was literally a machine, with a personality, of course. Most others have either quit or died. A few non-humans that tried quickly gave up. This was a distinctly human sport. Enrico saw himself on that large screen. He spotted the camera and stared into it with his piercing eyes, dragging a hand slowly through his grey, flecked hair. It was time. The gate dropped and the bull came free. Real bulls were long since replaced. This was only a mock-up. It bent its head back, snorted, and dragged one hoof across the ground, stirring up dust. All program. Enrico sighed. The beast charged forward, pistons slamming into the ground as it neared him. With a spin, Enrico stepped out of the way. This had no heart to them. All standardized, all the same strength, what he wouldn't give for a fair fight. He held his famous stone-cold face, all for the show. And they danced. Enrico dodged each charge masterfully. Enrico had a plan. On the bull's charge, it slowed right before it would impact, giving Enrico the time to react and make a show of it. Nothing but a trained eye could tell they was different, but he knew the crowd feels it. They feel how fake it is. Last night, Enrico was hunched over his computer, learning about the circuitry of the bull. He knew a show master edited the AI, made it so that it wouldn't kill anyone important, made it so that there was no real danger. The signals were transmitted to a receiver in the tail, and if you were to cut the tail, the repurposed military AI would have full control. So he did. During the slowdown, Enrico quickly drew his blade, grabbed the tail, and cut it off, severing the internal safety net. The bull roared and immediately kicked him. He was knocked back. Enrico tried to jump so he would fly further. The entire crowd gasped. The arena was silent until he stood up and spun his flag again, and he threw the tail into the air as he did so. The camera zoomed in on it as it went into the air, all the way to the peak of its flight arc. He looked briefly at the technician's box. They were standing up, shouting at each other, panicking. None of them are human. They wouldn't understand. For the first fight in 10 years, Enrico smiled. His ribs hurt and he'd need to visit a hospital after this. But now was not the time to worry about that. Now was the time for a true show to begin. The bull charged him. He stepped away earlier than usual, and the beast's horns hooked his coat, tearing it. That was close, closer than he expected. He put his blade away and danced again. He placed traditional hooked flags into his broad shoulders, with the bull coming just as close every pass. Normally, assistants would do the step, but there were none left willing to show. He holds the cape out, the beast bleeding synthetic blood as it charged through. He dragged the cape directly over its head as it moved. Normally, the bulls would simply charge under the flag, inhibited from the moving too fast. This bull charged so fast that it left the flag waving in the wind from its pass. They continued to dance, Enrico moving with energy the crowd hadn't seen in so long, that the arena hadn't seen in so long. When Enrico brought his sword out, the final stage of the fight, he finally noticed the crowd. These cheers were like none other. The beast was weakened, tired, and bleeding. The kill was quick, and the bull died as the sword pierced its spine. Enrico looked at the crowd, smiled, and bowed. He knew he was going to do this every time. End of story. And that, my friends, concludes this video. I hope that you enjoyed, and if you do, please